Hi, this is Linda Grimes, and welcome to the October, can you believe it? We're in October already, Armchair Artwalk Tour. We have 3 guests tonight that are just extraordinarily, wonderfully talented, creative people, and I'm so glad that they agreed to do this with us. So tonight we'll be talking to Donovan, Jolene Derraj, and Keith Terry, and we're going to start the conversation with Jolene Derraj. Did I mispronounce your name?
No, that's perfect. Thank you, Linda. Thank you for inviting me.
So you've had a number of jobs around San Pedro. You've been enormously helpful with a number of organizations. One of them was Grand Vision Foundation, right?
Yes.
And Lammy.
Yes.
And staying in that watership theme, then you went to the USS Iowa, right?
Yes. In between, I actually did a short stint at Heal the Bay. I ran the aquarium on the Santa Monica Pier. So.
Well, that was a schlep.
Yeah, it was. It's good to be home.
Yeah, exactly. Literally. So today you're going to be talking about how you guys got an art gallery on a battleship.
Yes. Yes. Really excited to share a few highlights about that.
So why don't you go ahead and share your screen and go through your presentation.
Okay, give me a second here.
Take your time.
Thank you. And oops. Okay, can everyone see that?
We can, yes.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, and feel free to stop me at any point along the way. I just put together a little presentation just to kind of help guide the talk here tonight. So I started off with a question: art on a battleship, right?
Right.
Well, really, art on a battleship? Really? The answer is yes, and I'm really excited to share some of our art with all of you this evening, and some of the ways our organization is collaborating and thinking outside the box to sustain our museum into the future. And I know that we've all been impacted and touched by COVID, and there's so many unknowns and moving forward. So I'm really just so proud of this art gallery and the exhibitry that we have at the museum for our community. Moving forward. So a little bit about Battleship Iowa. We're totally mission driven, and we're a historic naval ship museum. As I'm sure many of you know, we opened on the LA waterfront on July 4th, 2012. We really are first and foremost a community platform. And we are a nonprofit organization, a top 5 TripAdvisor museum attraction, which we're really proud of. And our 3 mission-driven pillars are education, veterans, and community. We don't receive any government funding, and by that I mean we don't get any money from the Navy or the DoD, and there's been many people that I've met over the years that think that we get some sort of funding, and we don't. We're totally on our own here. And we're currently transitioning to become the National Museum of the Surface Navy at Battleship Iowa, and a resolution was recently introduced on the Senate floor. So you've invited me tonight to talk a little bit about Lost at Sea and also our adjacent art gallery.
I was just going to notice as a San Pedran that it's been quite a journey from that first trip we took down to the channel, and how the organization and the business of running a museum like this has evolved. That's been fascinating.
Absolutely. It's been quite an evolution, as we say, right? And we continue on that journey.
And it's been a principal driver of tourism before we got shut down. I put that in a grant. I know.
Yes, absolutely. And absolutely. And I have a few of those facts to share with everyone, but annually, before we were hit with this horrible pandemic, we were welcoming about 250,000 people to the battleship every year. So that is a strong economic driver for our community, which we're really proud of, to bring that contribution to our community. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Lost at Sea. This is an exhibition that we built in-house, and our Chief Operating Officer, Mike Getcher, recently did a talk with All to See about really more of the design process and the engineering process, and we have that talk available on our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in that, please check it out. But I'm just going to give you a little taste of this exhibit, and again, in partnership with Dr. Bob Ballard. And I'm going to show you two very short videos. It was actually when just prior to the exhibition opening, Mike Getcher put together a video which was submitted to the Thea Awards, right? So that's what these two little clips are from. And it's just going to give you a little inside glimpse.
Hello, I'm Mike Getcher, Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer of Battleship Iowa Museum in San Pedro, California. We are pleased to submit our latest exhibit, Lost at Sea, to the Thea Award Selection Committee. Lost at Sea is based on the work of renowned undersea explorer Dr. Robert Ballard. It features a number of his discoveries and explorations of shipwrecks lost during a time of war, specifically World War I, World War II, and the Cold War era.
During any naval battle, the danger of sinking is real. This exhibit features my expeditions to some of the most significant shipwrecks that occurred during the time of the war. We're presenting not only the expeditions, but the historical context of each incident. But for all the glory and excitement that is presented in our program, we should not lose sight of the significant human toll of those lost at sea.
So that was the intro of our submission, and now I'm going to just do the ending of that submission.
Lost at Sea represents a major step forward for our museum. It also breaks the mold of how Navy Ship Museum exhibits are presented. The team's ability to decipher the puzzle of mounting a public exhibit within the confines of a battleship points the way for potentially creating future such projects aboard the Battleship Iowa. Thank you for your consideration.
So as mentioned, these are very short videos. If you haven't been to the ship and seen the exhibit, just gives you a little taste of it. But I wanted to just share a couple facts about the build out. As it says here on the screen, it started in early 2017 and took about 14 months. We opened in October 2018, and the exhibition space includes about 11,000 square feet. It includes the Lost at Sea exhibition, the art gallery, Alpha Romeo Tango that I'll be talking a little bit about, and an expanded tour route. So it includes the print shop, laundry, brig, barber shop, tailor shop. And actually when Bob Ballard was there, Mike Getcher put him in the brig. It was really funny. We have a great photo of that. It took about 15,000 man hours with a tiny operations team and lots of volunteers. So volunteers are really the backbone of our organization. And
Can we go back just a little bit? Maybe you explained this. Was it, talk a little bit about Dr. Ballard. Or are you talking about that later? Sorry.
So the exhibition is based on his discoveries. So his all the shipwrecks that he's discovered, and he has this philosophy, which we totally believe, that those are underwater museums and they shouldn't be touched. They should be left as is. So this was done in partnership with him and really based on those discoveries. So does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, he's a very interesting man of himself.
Oh, he is. Oh, the talk that Mike Getcher did, I actually learned a lot because I wasn't there throughout the whole build out. So I learned a lot from his conversation or his talk. So it cost us about $300,000, but in the real world, it would have cost about $1 million. So we're really proud of what we were able to do on such a shoestring budget. We received a substantial donation from Confidence Foundation to build this exhibition and this art gallery. The art gallery was always part of the blueprint for the exhibition. It was included in the original design plans. And as far as we know, I've done some research, and if somebody can prove me wrong, please do. But as far as I can tell, we are the only battleship in the world with an art gallery. So it's pretty awesome. So I don't think you'll find one on another battleship. I wanted to share a few before and after, just to give you an idea of the scope of this project and why it took 14 months to build it out. So it starts here, and then we've got our after shots, right? It's pretty amazing. And of course, these couple images could not reflect the blood, sweat, and tears that went into this build out, and just the dedication of such a small group of people. Yes, Linda.
If I remember correctly, because it's been a while since I've been down there, you walk through this exhibit about war in the Pacific and Dr. Ballard's Lost at Sea, and then you can get into the art gallery, right?
Correct. That's exactly how it's designed. So you go through the Lost at Sea exhibit, you come out into an area that's still to be built out. We're hoping to possibly turn it into a youth discovery lab or something like that. And then you walk through, there's a little theater seating area outside of the art gallery. And then you walk into the art gallery, and then you can actually go through the extended tour route. So you walk into the gallery, and then you just follow the yellow arrows, and you can go through the whole route, then you come back and you exit pretty much the same way you came in. So, and then some people enjoying the exhibits, and I like to say it's really about history, and it's really about ocean learning, and it's for, you know, people of all ages. So it's great to see families there learning and talking, and kids asking questions. It's a wonderful way to teach children. So now here's our adjacent art gallery, Alpha Romeo Tango, and what's with the name, right? What's with the name, okay? And I can't tell you how many people say Alpha Romeo Tango. It's not Romeo, it's Romeo, okay?
Oh, we're out that now.
And it's from the National Alliance Treaty Organization, the phonetic alphabet, and it spells the word art, so it's really cool. And then there's a little explanation of how the NATO phonetic alphabet is used. It's used by pilots and police and military people to be really clear when they're communicating a message, that it's understood clearly, right? So that's where the name came from. And so when we opened the gallery, so first of all, let me talk a little bit about Ben Jackal. So Ben Jackal is he's actually been the one that has curated these various exhibitions, which started with one of his. And he's actually been a longtime volunteer of the battleship, and he loves to polish the brass. Here he is, he's a renowned sculptor. He's an art professor at UCLA. He's just, you know, has an incredible reputation, and he comes down to the ship and he gets all dirty, and he loves to polish the brass on the ship. So always teasing him about that. So Ben actually kicked off the first exhibition, which opened in November 2018, and it was called, as you see, USS Indianapolis and Other Tales from the Sea. And it featured a dark ceramic sculpture of the ill-fated light cruiser USS Indianapolis, along with several other ceramic and wooden sculptures of notable warships throughout US history. So that was our first exhibition. And then our second exhibition was with an artist named Keo Griffith, and it was called Coral Sea, the Unsung Battle of the South Pacific. And Keo he practices from Los Angeles and Tokyo, Japan. And his exhibition was really about investigating his family history through prints, sculpture, and photographs of his family. And Keo's two grandfathers, they fought on opposite sides during the war in the Pacific. And his Japanese grandfather was an admiral during the Battle of the Coral Sea. So this show really demonstrated how old enemies can come together to produce new life in a mutual state of peace. That was really the heart of this exhibition. It was just amazing. We were so honored to have Keo exhibit at our gallery. The third exhibit, which you can see by the date, March 21st, never happened because I believe it was March 13th when COVID just slammed us all in the face. So we've had to put his exhibition on hold, but we're looking at doing something virtually with the artist, and his name is J.D. Smith, and his exhibition is called Unforgotten, the art of J.D. Smith. And it was installed and set to open again 2 weeks after the global shutdown. And his show is patiently hanging, you can see on the image on the right, waiting for state and county approval so we can reopen. Now, J.D. Smith, he served in the US Navy, and he has for years created astounding detailed drawings of the ships that fought in the Pacific theater of World War II. And J.D. is what the art world would call an outsider or a folk artist, right? He does not show his work in galleries. Instead, he works as what we like to say is an honest pipe fitter. He works as an honest pipe fitter in Venice, California. So this will be his first gallery exhibition once it opens. And it's the first show at our art gallery to feature a local veteran artist. So we're pretty proud of that. And we can't wait to have an artist reception for J.D. Smith, and you're all going to be invited to that, okay? So that's just kind of an overview of the Lost at Sea exhibit and the art gallery. And I don't know if you have any questions, but, or we're gonna have some questions later or something.
If there are questions, people can put them in the chat. But I think we're going to move on to Tara Donovan next.
Okay.
It's really fascinating when you go climb down in there and you get a real sense of the ship. And Ben's work is, well, it's not there now, but it was really interesting and intricate. So I really thank you for letting us know about this little treasure we have in our backyard. And I can't believe we can go back there.
Yes, yes, my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So our next guest is Tara Donovan. And Tara, I'm going to go all James Lipton on you, ask you to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that.
No problem. We can stop screen sharing and just look at Tara if we want. Tara is a film that she's going to show, but I really wanted to know what your origin story was. Like, how did you find yourself being an actor and a producer and then a filmmaker?
Yeah, I've been acting since I was really young. I started in, school theater. I think I was just a very outgoing and outspoken child, and I had a music teacher who thought that would translate well on stage. And I used to want to, before that, I wanted to be a veterinarian, and then I hit the stage, I caught the acting bug, and since 7, I was like, this is what I'm doing. And I got my undergraduate degree in theater with an emphasis in performance, but it was a Bachelor of Arts instead of a BFA. So I actually have a general knowledge of pretty much all theater. And like every other 22-year-old actor, I moved to LA thinking I was going to be a movie star. And
where did you move from?
I went to San Diego State for my undergrad. So I moved here from San Diego. I grew up in Arizona. So I've moved from Arizona to San Diego, now LA. After a few years here, I was frustrated with the roles I was getting or the theater I was doing. And I had a mentor that said, well, if you think you can do it better, why don't you? And I took my tax return money and put up my first show when I was 25. And that's how I started producing. And a lot of it was figuring it out as I went. And then in 2013, I was really fortunate to get hired by Little Fish Theater there in San Pedro. And through them, I managed the theater, the company, and was responsible for the productions throughout the year. And they do Pick of the Vine and then 10 full shows when I was there. So I was producing about 11 shows a year, and on the side, I would end up freelance producing about 2 to 3 shows a year as well. So in 2018 is when I left. At that point, I had been producing about 14 shows a year and still acting. And that's when I decided to go to graduate school for film, because I thought it would be good to, seek that avenue as a producer. It's a little more lucrative than the theater. And I mean, they both have their benefits. I think theater is beautiful because it's intimate and it's ephemeral, and it's like you have to be there to have that experience, and it changes. And I think that doing film and television, and why I wanted to transition into that, is you can just reach a larger audience with your stories. And I joke that it is to make money, but I really do think that there's something great in being able to tell bigger stories.
Plus, you're the auteur, so you get to craft the whole, your producing background comes into play, and you get to craft the whole story.
Yeah, I don't believe there's no such thing as an auteur in anything. I think that if you're making entertainment in a vacuum, it's never as good as when you're making it with a team. I don't typically direct in either medium, but I do direct more often in theater. But yeah, as a producer, you kind of shepherd, at least in film and television, you shepherd a project from the very beginning to the very end. And the very beginning starts with the script and with development, which is probably my favorite part. Actual physical production happens, you have to see it through post and distribution. And then even once it's out in the world, you're still trying to plug it and plug it and plug it. And with theater, producing, it sort of stops once the show goes up. You just kind of have to make sure you're still getting butts and seats, but it's a little less of a process. It's not a 3-year process or a 5-year process. It's a few months, which is nice.
So you went back to school and got a degree in film, and you made a film in school?
Yeah, I just finished my MFA from the American Film Institute Conservatory. I was supposed to graduate in June because of the pandemic. We were a little delayed. Thankfully, my film shot in December, and we had finished our reshoot before, like 2 weeks before COVID shut everything down. So we were a little delayed in our post-production, but we ended up being able to push everything through and deliver a finished film. So I have the 30-second trailer. I'm really proud of this film. The writer-director of the film is a U.S. Army veteran and a woman, and it is a story based on her own personal experience in Army basic training. So that'll give you the background. And I'll go ahead and share my screen.
You want to stand now? You want to be recognized? This is my precious guidon. I need a volunteer to carry it. I want to carry the guidon, Drill Sergeant.
So it's just a quick little taste. It is a 15-minute film.
And so you made the 15-minute film, and then what's going to happen to it?
Yeah, we've submitted for festivals, and so we strategically didn't submit to anything prior to sort of February of next year in hopes that we can have our premiere live and in person. That might be being optimistic, but we wanted to wait a little bit to kind of get out of the everyone's doing everything online phase, just so we would have the opportunity for cast and crew and, you know, that live experience of seeing your film on a big screen with an audience. It's terrifying and exhilarating at the same time.
So speaking of trying to get close to live experiences, can you talk a little bit about Shakespeare by the Sea and the upcoming 2 plays, Titus Andronicus, which is your favorite play, oddly enough, and for Measure?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm kind of going back and working with my home company. So Shakespeare by the Sea delayed their summer program where they normally tour with free Shakespeare in the park all over sort of Orange County and Los Angeles counties, and have figured out how to bring live theater to your living rooms. So we are actually going to physically stage the show with all COVID and filming safety precautions and guidelines, and then stream it on our website to everyone. And so hopefully everyone that would have seen it in their own little location will all watch. Titus Andronicus is my favorite play. I'm really—
Why is it your favorite play?
So Titus Andronicus—
about you?
I know a lot. Someone once was like, "Who hurt you?" Titus Andronicus is the most violent and bloody play. You know, there is a lot of murder. There's rape. There's cannibalism. It's brutal. But I think for me, and what I love about it, and I think kind of often gets overlooked in the gore, is that at its core, it's this really human story, and it all starts out based in grief. And the revenge isn't always from a place of pride, where a lot of revenge stories can be from pride, but it is truly from grief and loss. And I'm playing Tamara, who I think most people would consider her the villain of the show. But I think she's pretty justified in her actions. You know, I think that, I don't know, you guys can be the judge. It'll be streaming on Halloween, an appropriate thing for Halloween. And you can find a link to that and reservations for that on Shakespeare by the Sea's website. And then we'll be sort of repeating the process of doing Zoom rehearsals and then a live taping with Measure for Measure, which will be available to stream on December 12th.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
And so Shakespeare by the Sea, it's free. You know, we're asking donations to help sort of fund the whole program, but it is free theater. It will be on a stage and brought to you in your living room.
I think it's amazing that all of the creatives that we've talked to, not just on this call, but are really trying to find ways to be viable and have at and keep at it and keep a hold on to their audiences. And so I admire the effort, and it was really a lot of fun to be able to sit and I'd watched a Little Fish presentation, so it's really cool. So thank you for spending all the time and energy and hours it takes to do this.
Yeah, I mean, all of that goes to Suzanne Dean for the Little Fish virtual stage, and then Lisa Coffey and Stephanie Coltrane for Shakespeare. I mean, it's a lot of man hours that they put into learning this new technology. But again, producing, it is adapting and doing it and just pushing the ball forward at all costs to get the art out. And at all costs, I don't mean health and safety. We are going to be very healthy and safe about everything, but just getting it made and getting it done.
Well, thank you. We have to keep theater alive, or live performance alive somehow, and that's the best way we can get to that. So
yeah. Until we can be in the room together.
Yeah, right. It's like Jews always said, till we can meet in Jerusalem, so we can meet together. So yeah. Thank you. I just wanted to take a little break here before we get to Keith and let people know that we made a jigsaw puzzle out of this mural, the trumpet player, and we're looking, maybe you can get a jump on your Christmas shopping a little bit early. It's a $75 donation, and you can go to our website to order your puzzle. It's 150 pieces. It's a wooden travel puzzle, and we're really happy about it. So we're worried about giving people something to do while during our confinement. And so we hope you like this. And, everything that you donate to the Arts District, like Tara said, helps us continue doing things like this and keep our doors open. You might have noticed that we have a few small projects going on out on the street. We're repairing some of the dot boxes on Gaffey and Pacific that got badly tagged. And we did get a grant from the port to do some storm drain art. So we hope you watch your email machine, and we'll be doing a call for artists soon. So without further ado, I'd like to move on to Keith Terry.
Hi, Linda.
How are you doing? Keith, as you may have read his bio, is a percussionist. And I'm very interested in your origin story. What drew you to percussion in the first place? You're classically trained as well.
I think I was one of those kids that just banged on everything because my parents got me a drum when I was 3. I have a picture of me with my drum on their front porch. So why on earth would you give a 3-year-old a drum? Except they must have been banging on everything. And I've just kind of been playing drums all my life. I really don't remember an era that I did not.
What was your first gig?
My first gig, I started playing clubs when I was in middle school. I played nightclubs in Dallas.
Wow.
From middle school into my last year of middle school throughout high school, my parents would take me to the club. But it was through a contact that I was studying with a professor at a university in Dallas. I lived about 30, 40 miles away. And I started to meet some of his other students who were college students, and somebody needed a sub. So I got a call, and I started playing clubs really early on. It was a different life.
Yeah, it was a lot more innocent, naive than. What was your first big gig?
Wow, what was my first big gig? Well, it depends on how you define big gig. It's like
I thought Pickles Family Circus was really cool. Jazz Tap Ensemble was really cool.
Yeah, all those were really cool. I guess playing at places like Lincoln Center and the Kennedy Center and some of those things, which came kind of early on for me. I was really lucky. Recording in Jimi Hendrix studio, Electric Ladyland. There've been some really high peak moments. Playing in Ghana, playing in Indonesia and Bali, and I don't know. There's so many of them.
Well, we were saying earlier that we were talking about the actor Rubber Man, Bill Irwin, and he was the founder with David Shire of Pickles. You were in that group.
No, Bill was one of the 3 clowns: Jeff Hoyle, Larry Pizzoni, and Bill Irwin. Of the Pickle Family Circus for many years, and I played drums and did sound effects for them. But no, he wasn't one of the founders. That was Peggy Snyder and Lorenzo Pickle, who were the founders of the circus. But Bill was there from the beginning.
And then you moved on to, after that was Jazz Tap Ensemble?
They kind of crossed over. At one point, I was playing in the Pickles and playing in Jazz Tap Ensemble and the San Francisco Mime Troupe also, which is a political theater company out of San Francisco, one of the oldest political theater companies in the country. So yeah, it was really a rich time of a lot of interesting projects going on simultaneously.
You might explain what Jazz Tap Ensemble really was.
Sure. Jazz Tap Ensemble was a company, a sextet, 3 tap dancers and a piano trio, piano, bass, and drums. And I was playing drums primarily in there. And it was during that period that I started moving and doing body music, clapping, slapping, snapping, stepping, vocalizing, and creating choreography for the company. It really was a great laboratory that kind of launched me out into the world, into some other areas. But it was great. one thing I loved about that company is that it put me in touch with a lot of great dancers. That generation of dancers, they've all passed on, but people like Gregory Hines and Nicholas Brothers, Sandman Sims, Chuck Green, Eddie Brown, Steve Condos, Charles
Fred
Henry
Strickler?
Cook, Jimmy Slide. Say what?
Fred Strickler?
Fred Strickler, yeah, I was also a member of the company. But it was that older generation that, you know, jazz tap. There wasn't Broadway tap, but jazz tap. They were jazz musicians. Their instruments were their feet.
Yeah.
And it was such an amazing experience to be able to play drums for many of those people and to just be around them. It was just such a rich collection of people around that time. So it was very formative for me.
Yeah, they're amazing. Gregory Hines in particular worked with Baryshnikov and really brought that level of dance to a much wider audience, which I always admired. And I had a big crush on him too. He was just gorgeous as a dancer.
But
Yes, yeah.
you know, I like to say all their names. They've all passed on, but it's a way of kind of bringing them back into the room with us for a moment.
Exactly. So do you have something that you're going to play for us tonight?
Oh, well, you asked me to play a little bit. I'll just do a little early evening improvisation, if that's okay.
Oh, that'd be great.
I have to stand up to do this.
I hope you would. That was awesome. I love that you bring a sense of humor. And I think I said this during rehearsal is that I'm not a musician, never played an instrument. I can appreciate music all day long, but you help me find my way into the music because we all have a heartbeat, a natural rhythm. And so focusing on that, it really helped with, you know, finding my way into the music. You teach this as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a strong educational side too. Yeah, which is kind of, I work with so many different populations, from young children to graduate students to young professionals to seniors to people with disabilities, and I've been able to do it in some very interesting places in the world. So
yeah, you have. Yeah.
It's accessible, you know. I mean, I think of this body music as like the first music. Before we were making instruments, we were probably clapping and stomping and grunting to express our musical ideas. There are traditional styles all over the world, from hambone in the United States, which is an African-American style,
Right.
to Ethiopian armpit music, palmas and flamenco in Spain, South African gumboot dance. I mean, it exists all over the planet. There are still lots of traditional styles, and then more and more contemporary styles as well. But it's accessible, and the educational side is so great because I feel like it enables students to really embody the music, to embody the rhythm. And it gives a lot of great rhythmic skills for people, and then they can apply it to if they're a singer or a dancer or a film editor or, you know, anything that manipulates time.
Yeah, yeah, it's and so like you're saying, and so informs all the rest of what we do. And so thank you. Do you have something else that you want to play, or are you?
I don't know. You asked if I would play some like found sound. I'll give you a choice. I have a plunger that I could play. I have some hedge clippers in a baking tin. I have some spoons. I probably have some other things around here, but do any of those?
How about the hedge clippers in the baking tin?
Oh, sure. Let me stage this. Let's see if we can frame it in a certain way.
You are a treasure.
Don't try this at home.
That's fabulous. I want to thank you so much for being here. It's been my pleasure and my honor to see all of you. And I really get a kick out of this. It's just amazing the creativity there is in this world. And it's fun to focus on that instead of all the other stuff that's going on. So I want to thank you all for being here. We are going to do this again next month. Each month we learn something new, and next month we'll be featuring it's a gratitude show, and so we'll be featuring some folks from Meet the Music, Grand Vision Foundation's program. Geraldine Natz, who was the director at the Port of Los Angeles, has written a book, and she's going to be talking about that. It's really fascinating early LA history. And then we'll be interviewing Warren Tsao from Parkhurst Art Gallery. Violet Parkhurst had an amazing, amazing history. So we invite you to come back. Please sign up on our website, and thank you